Welcome back to another episode of Packing Up and Piecing Out, the podcast where two American girls spill the tea on what it really takes to move abroad. I'm Lili, an American in London, and this is...
Taylor, an American in Prague. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the episode. A couple months back, we did an episode where we talked all things food in Europe and if food is really better in Europe. And in that episode, we talked about the differences between American and European kitchens. And that really got us thinking that there are so many household differences between an American and a European household in general. So we wanted to dedicate a whole episode to talking through our experiences with that and how adjusting to these differences is part of the moving abroad experience that doesn't always get talked about enough. But before we dive in, should we do a little bit of catching up?
Yes, for sure. I hear that you are going on a trip this weekend. I want to hear all about it because you did mention that you wanted to do more weekend trips. So is
Yeah,
this
it's
part of
just
that?
one. It's one in the country. So
Okay.
I'm going to my friend's house in Shumava, which is like more in the Czech countryside.
Mm.
I think the bus ride is, I think it's a couple of hours. I actually don't even know. But yeah, just a 2-night trip. So it's not too far away and
Fun.
very affordable, just taking a Flixbus and staying
Hmm.
at her family house. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it and basically leaving right after recording this episode.
That's so fun though, and I think it's something that a lot of like expats and immigrants don't do enough when they move to a country is actually, especially in Europe, is actually explore the country that you move to. I'm guilty of this. Like in the UK, I mean, I've done a few trips within the UK, but mostly people that move to the UK like leave the UK for all of their trips,
Hmm.
and there's plenty to see within the country. And it's really interesting to see the differences between the big city, which we both live in, like the big city of our countries, and the countryside, because like it's as if you went to a whole new country. At least in England, whenever I leave London, I'm like, wow, this is so different than London. I'm not
Yeah,
sure about Prague versus
it's
the
definitely
rest
the
of it.
same. It's definitely the same in the Czech Republic. And I think that I've seen a good amount of the Czech Republic. And I think a big part of that is also just having my boyfriend who's half Czech and his family, but also
Hmm.
having Czech friends because I'm visiting one of my Czech friends'
Hmm.
houses. I visited another one of my Czech friend houses, which is
Hmm.
in Moravia, which is in a different region of the country.
Hmm.
So I think that having like those local friends, which I know we talk about in a lot of our episodes, how sometimes you can get in an expat bubble and it's a little bit harder to make local friends.
Yes.
But I think that that's what's helped me see more of the Czech Republic. And then we want to plan a Valentine's Day weekend, like Mark and I,
Hmm.
obviously, in a cabin or something. So maybe that'll be in the Czech Republic, maybe in
Ooh.
Slovakia. I
Hmm.
haven't been to Slovakia yet, so I'm eyeing that up. But I
Okay.
need to, maybe I'll plan that on the bus ride.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. And you're so right about having local friends because honestly, the only reason that I've done any of my trips within England mostly has been either because of Lime Bike or my like one English friend that I have. Not even that I've met here, that I met in Spain, and she lives like up in the Midlands, so I went there once, but yeah, I do need to work on making more local friends. It's actually been a mission of mine in the last like week or two to expand my circle. I'm really working on it because a lot of my friends here, as much as I love them, my expat friends, like I don't know how many of them are going to be long term. Because I don't mind having a lot of expat friends. The issue is when they're ones that aren't long term, that like will be moving on in,
So
a
many
year or
people
two.
do. Yeah, so many people. And there's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of
Mm-mm.
people do come to a specific country and just come for Erasmus or a work placement,
Yeah.
and they're not really planning on settling here.
Mm-hmm.
So I am more disinclined to make friends with someone who I know has a plan to leave because I know I'm going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I already have had multiple friends who have already left
Yeah.
in the year and a half since I've been here, specifically Americans. So that's why I'm just investing more of my time into making long term friends and also local friends.
For sure. I mean, it helps. Like, I'm not opposed to making a bunch of expat friends, and it does help when they have like a local partner because that makes me think that they're gonna stay longer.
Hmm.
Even though I do love having like single friends because they're just more fun generally. But it does help when someone's attached to someone who's a local because you're like, okay, the chances that they stay is so much higher than someone that doesn't have that, which is why I'm like, oh, I need to meet more single like men to set up with female friends. because I did try it once here. I tried to set up my friend with like a guy that I know here, and it did not go well. And so
Oh
I'm trying
no.
to like work up the courage to do it again. But yeah, updates for me, not much. I got my grad visa, so I'm officially here for 2 years. Whoop
Yay.
whoop. And feeling like I spent a lot of money on that, but it'll be worth it. Um, and yeah, should we dive into the episode?
Yeah, let's dive in and start talking about American households. And congrats on the grad visa. I
Oh,
know I
thank
already
you.
told you, I already commented on your video, but super exciting now that you have at least that settled for the next 2 years.
For sure, feels good. And as much as expensive as it is, it was like £3,000 basically. That is less than paying for health insurance in the U.S. for 2 years. I have to
Yeah.
remember, and less than like the
So
cost of living
3,000,
differences.
does the 3,000 include the NHS fee?
Yeah, so
Oh,
2,000
okay,
of
okay,
it
okay.
is the NHS fee, and like 1,000 of it is the fee just to apply, which is such bullshit. But
Okay, I mean, including the NHS fee. I mean, it's still way more expensive
yeah.
than in the Czech Republic. Like the fee to apply here was
That's
$12.
what it should be. It's all done by
Yeah.
robots. It's as if someone real looked at my application. Like, but
Yeah.
that's the immigrant. That's the constant struggle. Anyway, okay, so we're going to be talking about the differences between. So for us, most of it is between European household and American household. So if you're someone that's moved abroad to a different part of the world, I'm sure some of these will apply, but obviously, what's it called? Bean soup theory. Have you heard about bean soup theory?
Yeah, it's sort of like how people, isn't it based on like if someone's making like a bean soup recipe and someone's like, "Oh, if I don't like beans, can I still make this?" or something? Like,
Yeah, and I think that it I get so many comments that are like, "Oh, but what about this?" And it's not it's as if they took the heart of the video and they're like, "But can I do it this way?" I'm like, "Well, obviously I'm not going to help you in that regard because I did it in this very specific way." So yeah, basically we will be talking about European households. So if you're like, "Oh, but it's not like that in South America," bean soup theory. That's what I'll say.
yeah, but I'd also love to have someone on the podcast who
Yes, of
has moved
course.
to Asia or
Mm-hmm.
South America or Africa, so we can hear because yeah, our experiences are based mostly on Europe and also you living in Australia, but that's also like
Yeah.
not super different culturally, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
than the U.S. So I would love to have someone on, but yes, this will mostly be comparing American versus European households, and I also think that this is going to differ for us because it seems like we had pretty significant differences in growing up on the East and the West Coast and in Oregon and New Jersey. So I'm interested to see how these will differ for us too. But let's first set the American baseline for the things we think are normal in American households, or at least in ours.
Okay, obviously just they're bigger. Overall, bigger and bigger is better. It's like quality, not quality. It's quantity over quality in a lot of ways. I think
Yeah.
growing up, it's like if you didn't live in a house that was I mean, obviously we both grew up in the suburbs. This does not apply to people that are in like New York City. Um, but in the suburbs, it's like everyone's house is, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,000 plus square feet. And sure, some of that indicates the wealth of a person. But on the other hand, like a lot of houses are on the bigger end, even if they're not super expensive. It just depends on the area, the quality of the build, all of that stuff. But obviously,
Yeah.
it's just all bigger, basically.
It's all bigger, and things in the house are also way bigger, like fridges, couches,
Yes.
space for storage, just everything. Fridges is a big one I've noticed. In our apartment, we do have a half-size fridge, and I know you have also a
Yes.
half-size fridge.
Tiny.
And it's terrible. Like we struggle so much, even with two people, even with us eating the same meals, like just fitting everything in there when there's leftovers. Like I cannot wait to have a full-size fridge because I grew up having a massive fridge and a massive freezer
Same.
with an ice machine and adjusting
And we still
to
we still would struggle to fit. And in the
Yeah,
US, not
it
only
was
do you have
always
a
crowded.
massive fridge, the classic, I think the stereotype is like every middle class white family has a garage fridge.
Oh yeah, we have 3 fridges in my house. We have one in the basement, one
God.
in the kitchen, and one in the garage. Yeah, and now going from that to having a half-size fridge is crazy.
For me, the issue isn't even with food as much as it is with like condiments and stuff and drinks. I don't put any drinks in the fridge. I know you're such a cold drink addict, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a struggle for you. But yeah, I mean in the US, we have our garage fridge and it's mostly for drinks.
With drinks, yeah, same. Like soft drinks, beers, like they all just stay in the garage, like things that you don't have on a daily
It's
basis.
such a luxury. At the
Yeah,
time,
it's
I didn't think it was a
so
luxury.
convenient.
I'm like, this is just normal. Everyone has a garage fridge or like even just a mini fridge for drinks and stuff. And now that I'm in the UK, I'm like, wow, that was a real luxury to have just that extra fridge space just to keep your drinks nice and cold for whenever you want. You don't have to think about like, oh, I'm having people over tonight. I need to put
I
my
need
drinks
to
in the fridge
in the
and like
fridge,
clear up some
yeah.
space. Yeah.
Ugh, I hate that. I think just American households just are based on convenience and
Yes.
comfortability. Like they often have central AC and heating.
Miss that.
Obviously, we've talked about so many places in Europe, so many European countries don't have central AC in their buildings. And it's not just Americans being weaklings. There's actually it's pretty much an epidemic across Europe, the heat related deaths that happen in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's a health hazard. It's a public health hazard to not have air conditioning. Like it is. The heat related deaths, if you look it up, I'll have to put a stat. I forget off the top of my head, but it's astounding how many are in Europe compared to the US because of the availability of air conditioning in the US versus the lack of it in Europe.
Yeah. And I'm sure obviously people will be like, but for environmental reasons, it's better not to have AC. Sure.
So it's better to die, like
Yeah.
for old people
I
to
just
die.
don't think that can be the only answer.
Yeah, it can't be. And then they say, oh, it makes me sick. So many
Oh,
European people I know,
that-
they love to say it
that
makes them sick.
drives
It doesn't
me
make you sick.
bonkers.
Like, what are you talking about? Air conditioning does not make you sick. You get sick by a bacteria or a virus. You don't get sick from air conditioning.
I'm like, okay, sure. If you're blasting the AC all night so that it dries out your room, maybe you'll wake up with like a
With a little-
scratchy throat.
Yeah, but
it
you're not
doesn't-
sick
yeah.
either. Like you
use
don't,
use it properly,
Yeah.
and it will not make you sick.
But yeah, no, my boyfriend's the same way. Even with a fan, because there's also no ceiling fans here. That's
so
another thing.
miss ceiling fans.
Which also, if there's no AC, there should at least be ceiling fans. No ceiling fans either. But yeah, he like if the AC is on or there's a fan, he's like, it makes me sick. And I'm like, you can only get sick with viruses or bacteria. Like air doesn't make you sick. Like, yeah, it could give you a little bit of a stuffy nose maybe if it's right in your face. But yeah, I think European people on TikTok, so the vast majority of European people, they're not going off about this, but the ones on TikTok love to make fun of Americans for our preference for AC. But like I said, it is a public health hazard in Europe to not have air conditioning.
Yeah.
In a lot of European countries. Not
Even
all.
just to not have a
but-
unit that you use for like 1 month of the year when it's,
Yeah,
blisteringly
but-
hot.
But so many of them don't. They're like, that's so unnecessary. Why would I need that? I'll just open the window. I'll just freeze towels. But why have to do all
Towels, yeah.
that when you could just have. Yeah, I get that, there's older buildings here and it's hard to integrate central AC. But yeah, even a window unit. But a lot of, I think older European people I know, at least older Czech people, they're like, why would I ever do that? Like they can't see a reason why they would ever use that.
Yeah, then they're fainting from the heat and possibly
Yeah.
worse. Other things include our obsession in America with disposable products like paper towels. Not to say we don't use paper towels here. People definitely use paper towels in the EU and the UK, but I think way less. I don't think they're going through like a roll every other day like I think some American households do. People here just use cloths and sponges and way more. And I don't even know why that is. Do you think it's because of the environmental conscience, or is it like budget things, or is it just cultural?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, the environmental consciousness more in Europe and the lack of it in the US.
Yeah.
But I maybe also like, I don't know, I feel like growing up we'd always have those things on hand because we had a grill and we would have barbecues. So we always had to have these. I guess you don't have to because even
Yeah.
here in Czech when we do
Yeah, they
fires
have
at Mark's
plenty of
mom's
barbecues.
house. Yeah,
It's just
but they don't
cultural.
use any
Uh-huh.
disposable products.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually so true.
No, it's
We just
definitely a
use
way that I
real plates.
respect the European way a lot more
Yes.
because it has made me realize I'm like, wow, we don't actually need to use paper towels for everything. We don't need to use, cling wrap for everything. There's plenty of ways to get around it. And not to say they don't use those things here. I just would say they use like 50% of what we use in the
For
US.
sure. But honestly, maybe even less. Like when I
Hmm.
had a picnic with some of my friends over the summer, I went to a pretty big grocery store to look for paper plates,
Paper
plastic
plates is
forks.
not, yeah, that
No,
is, I'm
I
always
couldn't find.
shocked when people use, I always see on TikTok like Americans eating off of paper plates with plastic forks. Cause honestly, that was not a my household thing. But I forget a ton of Americans like almost only eat off of paper plates because they don't want to wash their dishes.
Yeah, we would use paper plates. Like, say if I'm getting like a pickle from the fridge and like need to slice it or something like that, I would just pull out a paper plate, honestly.
Really?
But we would
Okay,
never eat like a
interesting.
meal on one other than like
For
at a
parties.
barbecue. Yeah,
Hmm.
at a party. But it is bad. Like Mark was really shocked by it because which you would be because yeah, in his house he would never have any of
Hmm.
those things. And it was impossible for me to find. I found a tiny pack of weirdly shaped paper plates, but I could not find like forks or knives or
Hmm.
spoons in the entire grocery store.
Hmm.
Not I could not find them. Isn't that
Hmm.
like kind of mind blowing from an American perspective?
For sure.
Because I'm like, am I supposed to bring my metal forks to a picnic and then put them dirty back in the
The
bag?
answer
But
is
I guess
yes.
that's yes, yes. The answer is definitely yes. Um, Another massive difference, in my opinion, is dryers. It seems like there are people in the Czech Republic who have dryers, but it's
Hmm.
not the standard. Like if you move into an apartment, you're most likely not going to have a dryer. So it's people who have a house and get a dryer installed. I miss that so much. Like so much. I hate constantly having clothes hanging on the lines. Like the lines
It's
in
so
every European
ugly.
household are always out. The lines are always out.
Hmm.
People's underwear is always just hanging. Like you will just always see that in a European household, just clothes drying.
I mean, I'm
And in the
literally
winter, it
looking at
takes so
one.
long. Same. I'm looking at two.
Even
Like
though I have a dryer. Really randomly, the one perk of my apartment is that I have a dryer, but one of my roommates is Italian, so she never uses it. But
they
the
they
two North American roommates, we use it. It's
so they
such a cultural difference.
yeah, they actually like I think a lot of them also do think that like it ruins your clothes.
Yes.
Also environmental, that's a part of it as
Hmm.
well, but I think the biggest
They
thing is
think
that
it
it just
ruins
ruins
their
your
clothes.
clothes.
Hmm.
Like my boyfriend at first was so hesitant to let me put his clothes in the dryer in the US because he's like it'll shrink all my clothes and I'm like it's not going to shrink this cotton or whatever
No.
polyester shirt. Like
Yeah.
yes, delicates,
Hmm.
workout clothes, bathing suits, those are a little bit different, but yeah, I miss that a lot. We actually technically do have a washer dryer combo, but the dryer just simply does not work because it's wet. Like you put things in for 45 minutes and they're soaking wet coming out the dryer, so it's unusable.
Yeah, that's true. And just the fact in the US that we have a separate laundry room. Oh, I miss that so much. Now, obviously in Europe, for those who don't know, your laundry room is your kitchen.
Yeah, or the bathroom. You'll
Yeah, if
see
you're
that
lucky,
sometimes in
it's your
Czech
bathroom. I
Republic.
would love for it to be
Yeah,
in my bathroom. For
same.
us, it's in the kitchen.
It's in the kitchen, and then we need to get one, but we don't have like a laundry basket that like we have one for dirty clothes, but not one that's like transportable sort of.
Yeah.
So I just grab them all and like drop socks all over the kitchen, and then they like
That's
combine
so
with the
me.
food crumbs. Like there's food on them. Like it's a nightmare. Yeah, I miss having a laundry room as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. Oh, also another difference in households is shoes on the outside versus people in Europe are very much the second you enter the home, you take your shoes off and you either go socks or more likely everyone has their pair of slippers for the house. I mean, I'm wearing my house slippers right now.
Same.
I will say I've kind of converted to this. I do
Me
like
too.
it. Yeah.
I mean, it does make sense from a cleanliness standpoint, but I will say that I even when you go to like a party at someone's house, you would still be expected to take your shoes off, and I do find that a little bit unnerving almost. Like, I don't want to be in my socks with like all these
You have to
people. I don't know.
prepare and make
It's
sure that
awkward
your
to me.
socks are matching. There's no
Yeah,
holes
it's
in
awkward to
them.
me. Like, it's almost like you're in underwear, like in a way, like not as much, but like a sock to me is like an undergarment. Like, it's like, oh, I'm in my little
Yeah.
socks. Like, I don't want to be in my like party outfit and then I'm like in my little like socks. I don't
I
know.
agree. And also to me, if you're gonna have a party at your house, are you saying that you're not just gonna clean the floors
Clean the
after?
floor.
Just
Yeah.
if I have a big party at my house, I'm expecting the next day I'm gonna be mopping and vacuuming.
Yeah, I think this is one that goes either way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mark said growing up that in house parties in the UK, you would keep your shoes on.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I haven't been to a ton of house parties here, but I do think it's more relaxed because it's like your whole house is going to be a mess the next day. Just,
Yeah. You'll
it's a
have to
wash.
clean it. Also, one that I've noticed is the recyclables, and this is also something I like about Europe is how they sort the recyclables because I at least feel more trust in the system that things are actually getting recycled. Who knows? They probably aren't.
I don't feel
Because
that.
when I see the shit that people shove into the bins outside, it's sickening. They literally just put trash
Sickening.
in the bins. But yeah, in the US, at least in New Jersey, this might differ state to state. We just have a big blue bin, and all types of recyclables go in the same bin. Is that the same in Oregon?
It's pretty much like that in Oregon. We have that, and then we have the glass recycling. Like,
Oh, okay.
we have that separate. But for the plastics and paper, it's all going in one thing, and I'm of the belief that none of it's getting recycled.
Yeah, I think it's
I think the
yeah.
glass stuff might be getting recycled because it's like completely separate in Oregon, but I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to recycling, which is funny because
Me
I
too.
grew up literally my first email handle is tree hugger.
Aw,
You know, like what's your first
that's so
email handle?
adorable.
Mine is
So Oregon.
treehugger503. Very, very Oregon. So I really believed in recycling, and now I'm one of these people where I'm like, throw it in the same thing. There's no way in hell that's actually getting
Well, I
recycled.
think there's a lot of evidence that it doesn't. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that it's even a conspiracy at this
Mm-mm.
point. The best thing, though, that to recycle in Czech Republic at least is beer bottles because you return them to the grocery store in a specific beer bottle collection, and they actually get distributed back to the beer companies. And I saw this when I went to a brewery for Pilsen, which is like the famous Czech beer. Like I saw how they take the recycled bottles and use them. So that at
Well,
least
okay.
they do.
That reminds me, do you have the can deposits in New Jersey like we have? So if you collect all of your cans,
Yeah, no
and
one does it though.
we do it. Okay.
Oh,
It's
you
very
do.
common because you can honestly, if you bring back like a big bag of cans, you get like $7 for it practically. And
Yeah,
then,
it does
or
exist, but I
the
don't know
most
anyone who's
common
ever
thing that
done
you
it.
do is you put it and then you bring it to you put it in a bag, you bring it to the can thing, and then you give it to the homeless person out front and they do it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the most common way. So I sort of think that maybe that is getting recycled because it's all cans going into like an actual machine you see. But anyways, you get like $5 off your grocery bill if you actually manage to do it. So
Yeah, we do have that.
mhm.
Okay, now this one might be controversial. Did you have a TV in your bedroom as a kid?
God no. No.
Okay,
No, my parents were like kind of hippy dippy about that.
I feel like most people I knew did have a TV in their bedroom
Yeah.
growing
I
up.
think that's an
Yeah.
East West Coast divide. Us on the
Yeah.
West
Or
Coast,
just
we were
like
too
more,
crunchy for that.
yeah, nature vibes versus more like, not that we're city vibes, but we're still the suburbs. But yeah,
Mhm.
just East Coast, more fast paced. Yeah, definitely TVs in the bedroom. And I feel like
Wow.
that would
No, I didn't.
not happen
I
in a
watched
lot of
plenty of
European
TV though.
households.
Trust me. Like it being in the bedroom was not an issue because I was raised on The Simpsons. Honestly, I watched it like every single day. So I don't even think I wanted a TV in my bedroom though. Like it wasn't really something I asked for. I didn't really understand why. Because some kids, occasionally you would know a kid with a TV in the bedroom, and it was exciting to go and have a sleepover there. But no, like
It wasn't
did
common.
you actually use it a lot?
I feel like it's something I never even asked for. It was just
Oh.
sort of a default.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, I think we used it a lot growing up. Like fell asleep to the TV.
Wow.
Like just it was
Oh.
very, yeah,
Would
just
you
very normal.
would you if you have kids, would you allow TV in the bedroom or no?
Probably not, but I also think that by the time we could have kids, like TVs are going to be non-existent.
I
Like
also think they're the least of our problems at this point. I would rather
yeah.
have kids watching TVs now than what they're actually doing with screens.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like a kid wouldn't even have a purpose for a TV because everything they want to watch will
It's
just
on
be
their
on
phone or
the
iPad.
phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, should we talk more specifically just a little some of the differences between Czech and the United Kingdom and sort of
Yes.
compare those to what we just
I
said?
mean, because you've spent a lot of time in both, you can say some of the big differences.
Yeah. Um so in the Czech Republic, yeah, a lot of the buildings here are older than the USA itself as an established country.
Yeah.
As I said, a lot of people don't like air conditioning. They'll open the windows year round and like air out the house. It's a very common thing to have the windows open. And they just more have believe in if it's cold, just put more layers on. Me, in my house, I don't want to wear more than one shirt. Like I think you should only need to have one shirt on if you're in your house. Like you shouldn't have to wear a jacket in your own house. But they also the windows are structured quite differently. I think this is in a lot of places outside the US, but they have more of these tilt and turn windows that can crack, that can open different ways, while in the US, they just slide up and down for the most part. And that probably also has to do with the culture of people cracking their windows here. But they don't
Yes.
really have screens in the windows.
Oh,
Like,
don't get me started on not
yeah,
having
so
screens.
yeah, big mosquito problems. Not in our apartment since we're high up, but that can be a really big issue here. Yeah, for lower down, since they don't really have screens in the windows. Yeah, slippers are totally mandatory. There's usually boilers versus central heating, which is totally new to me. I've always had central heating. Drying racks are everywhere. Even though they don't have typically like massive fridges, they do usually have like an entire cabinet for pickled items. Because in Czech they're really big with like pickling and putting things just in glass jars, like preparing foods, like preserving foods. So they'll have an entire cabinet for that. And then another thing really common in Czech households is there's a word for it. I forget what the Czech word is, but it's like an entryway. So a lot of them will have these atriums where your shoes go, your jackets go, which is nice because in my house in the US, there's not really like a dedicated, often it'll be like a closed door room, like it'll have a door, so you'll come in the front door, there'll be the entry room, and then there'll be another door, so it's kind of nice because you keep all your shoes and jackets there. But yeah, those are some of the big differences. I feel like there are so many, honestly, too many to even name. Less if you're in a newer building. Obviously I'm in quite an old building, but I'm also thinking of what I know based on Mark's mom's house, which is a quite old Czech house. So what about the UK?
You bring something up that I need to admit. It's that I actually have no idea what the fuck a boiler is. I have no idea what it
Yeah,
is.
I
We've
don't
had a
really know
handyman
either.
around that's like, oh, I'm going to check the boiler. I'm like, sure, come check the boiler. I have no
I
idea
don't
what
really
it
know
is.
either. I know it has something to do with hot water, but it also has something to do with heat in the house because
I
when
know
ours was
it's the
broken,
heating system. I have no idea how it actually works, and I should figure that out now that I'm like
I
I've heard
actually
it
have
so much. Everyone talks about their
no
boiler.
idea.
Like, oh, I have like Lime Bike was saying the other day, oh yeah, we have a really good boiler in our house. I'm like, sure, whatever the
Our
fuck that
boiler was
means.
broken for like 6 months, and I was constantly talking about our broken boiler, and I
And
actually
you
have no
don't know what
idea
it
what a
is.
boiler is because in the U.S. we have a hot water heater that like most houses have hot water heaters, so it's like a tank.
No, they
But
have
this
hot.
is
This is
different.
different. The
Yeah,
boiler is like the central heat, and I'm not gonna
heat.
lie. I also
Yeah,
don't know how central heating works.
I don't know, but they have vents. Like we have vents. That has something to do with the central heating.
Yes, right. Whereas here they have actual furnace, like the metal
Yeah, they
things
have
on the side of
furnaces.
the
Yeah,
wall. So yeah, I need to look into that. I should do some
yeah.
investigative
I have
journalism and
no
make like a
idea.
TikTok video about what a boiler is. Okay.
Yeah,
But
I have
other than
no
boilers,
idea.
yeah, some of the big differences between like the US and the UK, I think, is that obviously the buildings here can be old, but there's also a ton of post-war buildings here that were built because a ton of the country was destroyed in World War II. And then the government came in and they're like, we're going to build a bunch of new housing. And all of this housing is going to be government owned and operated. As in, it's almost as if they built like, I think they built 60% of the whole country was owned by the government in terms of the housing. Um, AKA, a lot of the buildings are really shitty because the government built it, because a lot of the people living in those buildings were poor people, and because they needed to do it fast, I think is part of it. But then when Margaret Thatcher came into power, she changed all of the policies and basically sold it all. So now all of these shitty buildings are owned by private landlords. So it's just a really interesting phenomena of like, this looks like my building is one of these buildings and it looks as if I'm living in the projects, but I'm not. Like, a private landlord owns it, has probably for a while, and there's no government oversight. But sometimes the buildings are like split up. I don't know. It's very different than the US, where we've never had a massive amount of the buildings owned by the government. Like, that's just, I don't think more than 5% of American housing would have ever been owned by like the government.
Yeah. But yeah, I know in London there's all these problems with the insulation, and there was a big fire that killed a lot of people.
Yeah, that was really terrible. So the Grenfell fire, probably 10 years ago, I think in 2011, like 70 people died. It was obviously
Oh my
terrible. And it turned
gosh.
out 75, I think, 76. And it turned out the insulation was like highly flammable, and a ton of the buildings here have used it. So now in the years since, it's been a massive overhauling, and the government will now like pay for you to replace it. And I actually have a friend that lives in a building that it turns out had it, and they're like working on replacing it. But in the meantime, she has really cheap rent because of it.
Okay, that's good, but things like this just piss me off so much, as like when people say, "Oh, look, like poor people, they get things from the government." Well,
Yeah, they get shitty
they get
things from the
shitty
government.
things that are hazardous to their health. Like, I watched this documentary on Hurricane Katrina and how it affected a
Oh
lot of
God.
the
Yeah.
Black community in Louisiana, and a lot of people were displaced in these trailers, and it turned out these trailers had massively high levels of pesticides. So people like got cancer, and so it's like people are like, oh, they're getting these handouts from the government.
Yeah.
Like, well, the government does not actually care. They're going to use the cheapest material. They don't care what the harms are to people. Like, it's so terrible, because I feel like that's something that happens all over the world, and it's like this anti-poor like infrastructure, like, and it's just bound to break or collapse, and then these horrible atrocities happen, and
I know it
it's so
doesn't even
sad.
make sense for them to do it this way, because it must end up costing them more in the long run.
More in the end, yeah. And what about like potential legal things that can come out of
Of
people
course. These
dying?
lawyers are getting
Like,
rich based on the
yeah.
fact that people are cutting corners and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, and I know other countries aren't as litigious as the US, but I would still imagine if people die in it,
Of course,
building accident,
there's gonna
that there'd be
be
lawsuits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not as much. That true. We should do an episode on the difference in litigation between
Yeah.
because I have a lot to say. Let me tell you.
Do you?
Yes. I know your mom's a lawyer.
Yeah.
So sorry to Diane, but I actually have a kind of a hatred of the legal profession.
Well,
Because of the litigious I actually don't even hate lawyers in the UK, because I don't think it's as litigious, but I think in America,
Yeah.
like, the litigation practices have made it so that the legal profession, the incentives are wrong.
For sure, the
Completely.
criminal justice system in general, the justice system as a whole in the US is so messed up, and like there's a whole podcast about that itself. Not that it's great in the UK either, though, with like Lucy Letby. Like, have you followed that at all?
No, I haven't. I've heard
yeah,
the
so
name, but no.
Like, I won't go into all detail, but I listened to some podcasts about it, and there's a docu-series coming out, but they don't like televise trials ever there in the UK. In the US, they sometimes do, they sometimes don't. And I was always kind of mixed on it, because with things like Ted Bundy and stuff, it actually can sometimes be good
Inspire?
for
Oh, it can be good?
inspire, be good for the person, because they have so much
Yes.
like fan support, which is so bizarre when it's a killer. But with Lucy Letby, like, there was all these extreme like errors in the trial, and since like the public had no awareness of these, like, it's only now that experts are looking back based on the documents from the trial and being like, oh my God, this was so messed up. So yeah, I mean, it's not good in either place, but yeah, the US and the propensity for people to sue, I think, is
It's
just a really
crazy.
unique thing to
People
our
make fun of
country.
us for it. That's a really
They
common thing I get
should,
made fun of.
yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, are you gonna sue me? Haha, you're
Yeah.
American." Yeah,
They
that's a
should.
big
Like, you see
difference.
those public injury lawyer boards when you come in. That's another thing Mark was surprised
Yes,
about first in the US. Like, the
ads.
call blank, blank, blank
Hmm.
if you're injured, and I'll get you all this money.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
thing. Like if I'm hit by a bus here, I'm sure I'll be getting nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Okay, let's talk about bathrooms specifically. Um, and I think the elephant in the room is that they don't call them bathrooms. They
No, they're
usually
the
say the
toilet.
toilet.
Hmm.
Yeah. And at least I know this is not unique to Czech Republic. I think it's similar in a lot of countries, but traditionally the toilet was separate from the bathroom. Like, it's a separate room. A lot of houses still have a separate toilet. So I think, they just got used to saying the toilet, while in the US they're always together. So we
Yeah.
call the whole thing the bathroom.
Is yours and your apartment separate?
It's not.
Okay, no, I actually don't. That's not super common here, even though they call it the toilet. I wonder if it used
Oh,
to be more
really?
common because I don't, I mean, there are people that have half baths, that, as we call them, which is just a toilet and a sink. But in terms of the main bathroom, I, I've only ever seen ones where it's all together, which honestly I hate in my apartment. It's a big gripe of mine because we only have one bathroom and there's three of us. And it would be so much nicer if we had like a separate toilet and then a shower
Yeah, so
separately.
two, yeah.
Hmm.
Except I like going straight from the toilet to the shower. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I just, especially in the morning, like, I just prefer that. So I
Fair.
like them being in the same room.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think that's has something to do with why they call it the toilet. But I was
Hmm.
very jarred by that at first, spending time in England,
Hmm.
when everyone would say the toilet, and I found that to be so shocking and
Yeah,
so
so like
vulgar.
vulgar, uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm like,
Which is
ew, I don't
weird.
want to like think about that you're gonna go shit on the toilet. And like, but when you literally ask like a server in a restaurant, like, where's the bathroom? They sometimes will look at you with a blank stare, like they
Hmm.
genuinely don't know what you're saying.
Or it'll take them a
Um,
second. They'll be like, "Oh, an American, the
yeah,
toilet's that
I,
way."
I think Czech people like say it a bit mixed because a lot of them do grow up and learn English from they learn in school,
Hmm.
and but they also watch like a lot of American TV and American TV shows. So I think they kind of have the mix of American and British English in a way. So I think some people do say bathroom, but you'll also hear toilet here a lot. Um, like, yeah, actually in Czech, I actually don't know. I think you would just say, actually, no, I don't know. I think there is a way to say, like, where's the bathroom? I need to check on that, because that's important to know. But the other difference in Czech bathrooms is, okay, this is something that is older. They're not very common now, but I have seen
Hmm.
one before, and it's very shocking. And they were common in Eastern and Central Europe, like in like the 50s to 70s. They're called an observation tray. And so they were intended for like, I guess, almost
Wow.
medical health purposes. So when you go number two, it doesn't fall straight into the bowl. There's a tray that's about this far away from where your butt is. And so your number two lands on the tray so you can observe it as in an observation tray before you flush it down. Yeah.
I have seen this in Germany, and
Yeah.
I find
Yeah.
it,
I
I mean, a
don't
bit
like it.
horrifying.
It's also, you need to put toilet paper down first before you go, because otherwise it will literally stick to the tray.
Yeah, it
Like,
seems
it's terrible.
impractical in a
It's
lot
very
of ways.
impractical, and it also like smells bad because like it's not going straight into the water. Like,
Right, the
it's
water will like catch
yeah,
some of the, yeah, okay.
it's not nice. But these are very old school, like just in really old Czech
I
houses.
think though
But
in a lot of Germany that is the case, and
really?
a lot, yes, I'm pretty sure. I have seen plenty of bathrooms with that setup for the toilet for sure.
That's so
Maybe it's
funny.
in
Yeah, no.
Scandinavia,
Here I've
like
only
yeah.
seen it once.
Oh, okay.
And I looked it up because I was like, what the hell is this? Like, why is my shit so close to me right now and in my eyes vision before I flush it?
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I don't like that. I don't
No,
like that.
that's horrifying. Another difference in bathrooms here is a ton of the bathrooms have towel warmers or like the radiator for the towel, which is nice. I don't really see.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it seems like a bit of a waste of energy because like I don't need it.
So
But
is that for the towel, like, specifically, or is it for the bathroom as a whole? I
guess
never knew
maybe it's
that.
both. I guess it's
Okay.
both. So it depends on the bathroom. But we have one and we don't even turn it on. I think we have it turned off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like I don't really need the bathroom to be that warm. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
fine just to get like heat from the rest of the house, but I don't know.
Yeah,
We also
they do
our
all have
light
these.
switch in my bathroom is on a string. How common is that in the Czech Republic? A lot of lights in
Mm,
bathrooms weirdly here are strings from the ceiling.
I don't know, but I remember that from Mark's house in England.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it's
maybe it's
really
more in the
I'm
UK.
waving around every time I walk in to like find the string and grab it when it's pitch black. It's a little weird because I'm used to when bathrooms have strings on the ceiling it being some sort of emergency
Yeah.
thing for if you're on the toilet and like you're sick or something or you're an
Yeah.
old person. So sometimes when you go into restaurants here, you're not sure if it's the string for the light switch or if you're going to be calling the cops.
Oh my
My
gosh. Like
friend
people run in
accidentally pulled
like,
one once at a Pret in the city
oh
and she
my
runs
gosh.
out. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he goes, "It happens all the time because people never know if it's the light or the emergency pull
Damn.
switch." Yeah, weird difference. But yeah, should we talk? Okay, so just like adjusting to the differences, has it to you all of these differences? Some of them are welcome, I would say, for
Yeah.
both of us, and other ones are just really annoying. To me, it's always like a learning experience, and it pushes me out of my comfort zone, even if they continue to be annoying, like with the dryer, the small fridges. It has made me more creative in some ways with my cooking, with what I buy at the grocery store. For the dryer, when I used to not have a dryer, I would use the washing machine less, which like sometimes can be nice to just wait to do your laundry. Because the tendency when I was in the US is like, oh, I can just do laundry every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
But that
Because
is probably bad
you
for
can
the
be done in
environment.
2 hours. Like
Mm-hmm.
it can be done so quick. Yeah, I feel similarly where none of these are like big deals. Like they're all small things,
Yes,
but I
of
think that
course.
sometimes when you're having like a day where you're already feeling you're having some immigrant related problems as is visa struggles, someone yelled at you in Czech, which happens to me quite often. And then on top of it, you have these things that are so different than home that unlike in the US where we're so focused on convenience and comfort, these things are a little bit more scrappy and just not super convenient. And I feel like that's when sometimes I'm like, I just want a fucking dryer. Like, it's so frustrating. But again, these are just like the small things. But I think it's okay to feel frustrated by them. But like these things shouldn't, be enough to be like, I can't live here. Because when Americans do complain so much about these things to the point where it's like, oh, I need to go back to the US so I can have a dryer. It's like, well, I feel like you're using that as a reason that you actually don't want to be here. You want to be home. And you're saying it's because of these XYZ minor things. Like, you should be able to adjust to these things. I think if you want to live abroad, you can't expect everything to be like America or whatever country you're from. There's always going to be differences. And you can also try to find alternatives. Like when we get a house, I'm definitely getting a dryer, like 100%.
I was gonna bring that up. When you buy a house, and I think about this a lot when I buy a house, what are gonna be the things that you're like, I don't care how I get it done, but I need this dryer. Now, I would agree,
Dryer,
dryer, big
air
fridge,
conditioning,
or it
big
doesn't have to be the
fridge.
same size an American fridge, but I am not putting up with this mini
A
fridge
half size
bullshit.
fridge,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, especially like if we eventually move to a place and then have our first kids there, whatever. Like you can't have a half size fridge when you have kids. Like
Mm-mm.
also don't like bottles and shit need to go in the fridge. Like
Right.
I don't know anything about that, but I feel like you need fridge space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dryer, air conditioning, which like I hope we could find a house that has it, but if not, I guess we'll just have to get it installed. And I know that's super expensive, but I guess also it would increase the value of the house by a lot. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I'm like so ignorant when it comes to these things. And then yeah, a full size fridge. I would say those really are the main
I also
ones.
would love to illegally install a garbage disposal.
Oh yeah, some people
Mm-hmm.
here do have them because I remember in that post I made where people were fighting you in the comments of my post. Yeah, some people were like, "Oh, I'm Czech and I have one." So they are. If you look at they are banned in the EU,
Uh-huh.
but it seems like it's not strictly
Yeah, like
enforced.
who's checking? Who's going to your
Yeah.
house?
So it seems like you can get one. Yeah.
Okay, hi guys. This episode has really tested us. There's been some technical issues. So if it sounds like that got cut off, it's because it did. But we're just gonna wrap up really quickly with our segment, which this week we're gonna be doing our immigrant problem of the week. So Taylor, what's yours?
My immigrant problem of the week, now that it is 2026, is just the complication with filing taxes, and especially since we are still taxpayers also in the US, even though we're now taxpayers in a different country, trying to figure out what I need to do in the US to file my taxes under a foreign income exclusion or something. Just a lot of admin, and I guess in the US, most people, I guess, do it through like TurboTax or something. Here, if you're employed, I guess your employer just does it. But since I'm self-employed, I have to file my own taxes. I have an accountant, but it's just going to be complicated because this is my first year doing it here as a tax resident, and there's different numbers, tax IDs I need that are hard to get, and it's just going to be a long, lengthy process. So that's my immigrant.
I can relate to that. I've also been figuring that out because I've been kind of leaning on using my accountant at home. It's my mom. She's my accountant. So this year I'm finally doing it fully myself. Obviously, it's going to be more complicated because I finally did file here as like a self-employed person. So I got to figure that out. I think I should probably just bite the bullet and get an accountant. I just honestly have never really worked with an accountant. Like, how is it affordable for you?
For me, it is, but also just like with check prices versus English, like they're so different.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, for example, I got my accountant to set up everything for my trade license, and he also registered, which is the self-employed permit. He also registered me into the Social Security system and the public healthcare system, which would have been. I know people have done it themselves, and they're like, "Oh, it's not hard," but everything's in check. Like, everything's in check. Every form is in check.
Yeah, you
have to
definitely need
communicate
someone
with multiple agencies in check. But yeah, people are like, oh, it's so easy to do yourself. So that whole process, including multiple consultations with him, being able to ask him as many questions as I want, and him doing all the filings, was like $400, which I thought was really affordable because in the US, I think you would pay thousands of dollars for something like that. I don't know how much it's going to cost for my taxes, though. He hasn't told me the price for that yet. Maybe it depends on how complicated, and hopefully mine won't be like a super complicated case for him since he's used to helping self-employed people. But yeah, I mean, my accountant has been great. Like, he's so knowledgeable and he answers all my questions, and I could not imagine trying to do this without him. So you're the best accountant if you listen to this.
Yes, I'm sure he listens. That's good. Okay, so mine is that the UK recently has been showing some very eerie signs of leaning towards where the US is going with immigration. Most obviously they literally started a official TikTok account called, I think it's called Secure Borders UK, where they're making videos literally of people getting handcuffed and like put into cars and put on planes, and basically having it just be like, we're working hard to get the scum out of this country. It's literally dystopian. The fact that they're making a TikTok account to publicize deportation is crazy
ICE
to me.
They learned it from ICE and all the Department of Homeland Security. They're all posting this horrible stuff, celebrating it. And that's so scary, though, because to see, we just talked about in our last episode, but to see the same tactics being used.
It's even crazier because it's a Labour government right now. Like,
yeah.
it's not like they've elected, Nigel Farage yet. I'm sure they will eventually.
They will.
Based on the fact that
soon,
this Labour government is literally just giving in to all of this far-right bullshit on immigration. It's like, it's one thing to actually have these policies enacted. Obviously, it's terrible. It's like a step above to publicize it on TikTok as if it's something good and something that people are going to like and follow and comment. Like, it's crazy. It's really
so
concerning.
Sick. I think that's the difference between like the Trump administration and former administrations, like we know that Obama deported
so many people.
But
he didn't publicize it.
They weren't like celebrating the violent rounding up of
not even
people
criminal
of color,
like just
not criminals, not even immigrants.
Yes.
A lot of people that they're
Literally
taking
citizens.
to detention centers are U.S. citizens. Not that even matters,
No, it
though,
doesn't.
because I kind of hate the thing of like, this was a citizen. Like, this is a person. Like, no person should be treated like this. And yeah, like most of the people who are being detained are not criminals, like a very, very high percentage. Yeah. And it's so scary because that anti-immigrant sentiment
is spreading.
Is so strong here too. But here, the immigration like into the Czech Republic, it's just like not at the same level like as in the UK, you know? So it's like there's such a big anti-Arab and anti-Muslim sentiment here. I see it on TikTok all the time. But I think as Prague and Czech Republic becomes more diverse, that anti-immigrant sentiment is going to become even more strong here, and like that's going to pick up more and more and more because white people throughout all of history, they need a group to blame their problems on, and right now that group is immigrants. In the past, in America during the civil rights era, that was black people. Like there's always a different group that they need to blame their problems on, and clearly it's not just in America, it's a thing across all of like Western culture that they need a group to blame their problems on.
Especially now with like these current economic problems, they're like, should we blame it on billionaires? No, let's blame it on poor immigrants like that are actually doing the work for the billionaires. Like
the Republican Party was literally created to pull apart the working class white and people of color community. I'm reading a book about this right now, and it's actually crazy how, like, it's crazy that poor lower class white people, they blame poor lower class people of color on their problems, or all people of color on their problems.
Instead of coming together.
Well, yeah, if people could unite against the rich people, especially the lower and like the lower middle class, which is most of America. It's becoming a political conversation. But yeah, most of everywhere. It's terrible because you do see those same echoes and the same rhetoric used across like all these different countries. And yeah, people always make fun of us as Americans for having Trump in office as if we voted for it. Like, why are you making fun of me and my comments like I voted for this shit? Yeah. But then it is true that these right-wing extremist populist movements are becoming stronger and stronger in Europe.
Like you can't, if you're planning on escaping it, I hate to break it to you, you really can't. You kind of gotta, as we talked about last week, like you have to pick your poison. But yeah, that was a good episode.
But yeah, the book I'm reading is The New Jim Crow. Recommend it.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's a little outdated because
it's
it doesn't. It's pre-Trump. Okay. Yeah, it's pre-Trump, so it's outdated now, but still super interesting. Talks about from slavery to the Jim Crow era to mass incarceration, and now the fourth part would be this mass deportation. But yeah, definitely recommend it.
I need to get some nonfiction book recommendations from you because I'm really bad at reading nonfiction books. Like I do not read nonfiction books, so you should share some with me. I need to get smarter.
I will. I love nonfiction and I read about so many different topics, but I should probably also start reading more about Europe and like
you should start, and you should start sharing your like nonfiction book picks or all of your book
I got a book about Czech feminism, so I'll need to read that one soon. But yeah, I'll send you some recs.
Great. Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for listening. Please, if you got it this far, you should definitely leave us a review. Like you're really in it for the long haul, and we'd really appreciate a review so much. And obviously, if you are a fellow immigrant, we'd love to hear about what's the biggest surprise in terms of the differences in households. Comment below in Spotify or go to our Instagram and comment because I'm so curious. There must be things that we didn't touch on at all.
For sure. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, see you next week.
That's all for this episode of Packing Up and Peacing Out.
If you liked it, hit subscribe, follow us at Pack Up, Peace Out, and leave us a review. It helps more Packers Up and Peacers Out find us.
And for more of our unfiltered takes on life abroad, follow me at Taylor Takes Prague.
And me at A Rich Woman's World. We'll see you at the airport.